Good morning. A story. There was this wealthy man who realised he had far too much money, far more than he could ever use or needed. He was very generous with his money, supported charities and foundations and did a lot of good. But he just felt like being recklessly extravagant in some strange way, have some fun. So off he went. He went to the bank and cashed in $1 million and got it in $10 notes. A lot of them. And he stacked them in his car with his driver, and they drove through the city streets and through the suburbs, throwing money out the window at all times of the night and day. And there were myriad responses. Some of the money was caught up in the wind and blew all over the place, landing on roofs and balconies and gutterings and all sorts of places. Some landed in gutters and was washed down into rivers and streams and lost. Others landed in rubbish dumps or piles of rubbish, and it wasn't until people were moving through the rubbish, sorting it, that they found this money. Other money fell on streets, corners and footpaths and was found by people, surprised. Some looking out to see if anyone had dropped it, and some just quickly putting it in their pocket. In some places there were lots of money, notes, bunches of notes. Others just loose money. Sometimes people were chasing him down the road, seeing what he was doing. Sometimes it happened in the darkness of night, and they would discover it in the morning. All sorts of people found this money and used it in a variety of ways. There was a woman walking home from dropping her children at school, deep in thought, trying to sort out the finances. Her and her husband, it was hard to make ends meet, and they had bills, but there were some really important children's excursions and clothing that they needed. And she was trying to work out how she could make all this happen. And she knew she wasn't alone. A good friend of hers had the same challenge with their family. And as she's walking, head down, thinking hard, she didn't notice a car slow down. She just saw out of the corner of her eye someone throw stuff out the window and thought, oh, they're chucking rubbish. She didn't take much notice of it till some landed near her feet, and she looked down and realised this was money. And as she looked up, she saw this face, this smiling, laughing face out the window, waving and nodding and pointing and clapping and cheering and pointing to it and throwing some more out and then driving off. And she picked up the money and she realised how much was there, and it was far more than she needed. It would get them through this tight situation, and there was enough to help a friend, and maybe the two of them could have a nice lunch. There was a homeless man sleeping in one of the streets, just in one of the porticos off the street, hidden from the rain and the wind. And he's snoring away in his sleeping bag with his meagre possessions around him. And he feels something on his face and shakes it off in his sleep, and then more. And he comes to consciousness and realises, someone's throwing rubbish on me again. And he goes to brush it off, pull it and throw it away, and it feels different. And he looks, and he has to look, and it's money. And as he shakes himself fully awake and looks up, there's a car, and there's a funny little man in the front cheering and clapping and laughing and pointing, and then they drive off. And he sees the money on the footpath, and he collects it up quickly and stashes it in his sleeping bag. This will give him a chance to get new clothes, maybe a new sleeping bag or food. Maybe he can do something good for himself with it. Other money, different people used in different ways. Some hoarded it, some used it for no good, bought weapons or put it to bad use. For some, it fed their addictions. Some was shot up people's arms or snorted up their nose or pilfered away in poker machines or at the local betting agency. Some money people collected and gave away to a charity or to people who needed some support. Some of this money did really good things, some was wasted, some contributed to evil. This reckless, lavish, generous soul threw money everywhere and didn't care where it went. It's a story. Maybe there is someone reckless or crazy, foolish, whatever, enough to do something like that. But it's a story. But then, as I was walking this morning down along the Toongabbie Creek, in the cold morning, I felt the sun on my face, warming me, filling the world with light and warmth, sustaining the earth, realizing that the sun is there for everyone. It's lavish and generous and abundant. Or the air that I breathe every second of my life, with oxygen, filling my lungs and my body with the oxygen I need, is more than enough. Even though we fill the air with our wastes and generate much more carbon than we need, there is air to breathe, and everyone can breathe it. It's free. Or the water that falls as rain on the earth, on the just and the unjust, on the good and the evil, freely falling, nourishing the earth and giving life to all things. There's an abundance in our world, a generous abundance that we often miss, or we try and exploit. We try and use for our own means to make profits, or we abuse it and dig it up. The resources of the earth that are there for all people. Nations hoard it and control it and dominate other nations with it. There's a story that Matthew tells, a story from Jesus. It's similar. It's about a farmer who goes out and sows seed. Now, most farmers would have protected their seed and made sure that it was wisely distributed into good earth and not wasted. But this farmer goes out along the path and flings the seed everywhere, flings it joyfully and joyously and extravagantly everywhere. And some of the seed falls on the path that he's walking along, and he tramples over it and others do, and it's hard packed earth and it goes nowhere. The seeds just rot and die. Other seed goes just off the path into where there's untilled land and still rocks and other things there. There's a bit of soil and the plants germinate but don't go anywhere. There's no depth of soil for them to grow. Some falls into parts of the land where there's weeds and other plants growing and they compete and the little seedlings die. But some falls into good soil and it grows and it's abundant and it bears fruit. And Jesus said this is what the reign of God is like. The reign of God is lavish and generous and abundant everywhere. It's all over the place. It's there for everyone. It's this grace of God which we experience in so many ways, in the beauty and the wonder of the earth, and its features and diversity of the hills and the valleys, the plains and the desert regions and the polar caps and the oceans and the streams and the abundant life of trees and plants and vegetables and fruit and vegetables that we eat, and the birds and the fish and the animals that inhabit the earth, of the bacteria and microorganisms that do such an invisible but vital work in sustaining the earth, and the earth that gives us life, and of people, the people of our lives, the people in the diversity of culture, of language, of food and music and dress and poetry and songs and art and all these things that are part of our lives, generous and extravagant, the colour and the beauty and the richness of flowers and butterflies and birds, the song of the birds, music and the sound that fills the air with wonder and joy. These are extravagantly given, and there's enough if we would share it. if we would understand that we freely receive and to give it away, and to share what we have with one another, and to use the lavish generosity of this grace of God for the well-being of the earth and the world and people and animals. In some interpretations, this seed is God's word, not just the creative word that gives form to life and being and material reality, but the word that goes out and speaks a word of hope and life and joy and peace, that calls us into a new way of being in God, that declares the wonder and the joy of God's grace and love for us, bringing life and forgiveness and renewal and healing. It's lavishly given, abundantly free and present for everyone. And we can take it and use it as we like. We can ignore it and let it die. Sometimes we take hold of it and it seems so good and we grasp it and cling to it and define it and build belief systems and legal realities around it and hold it tightly and make it exclusive and use it to judge and exclude others. And that's not what it's about either. And it dies. But when we are freely and generously abundant with our sharing of God's love and grace and this word of hope that fills our lives, others will be drawn into this same experience of grace and joy and healing and forgiveness and life. That's the reign of God. It's everywhere. It's for you and it's for me and it's for all people. And we're invited to live into it and to share it with those around us, joyously, extravagantly and abundantly and recklessly. You join Jesus on this abundant journey of extravagant wonder and reckless joy. Amen.